Good morning, everybody. My name is Carolina Correct, and as you may or may not know, outsourcing is a practice of shifting jobs, tasks, or operations to foreign countries in order to minimize costs and maximize profits. Now, whether or not you believe this practice is a detriment or a benefit depends on your perception. What do you see here? At first glance, it might seem that this woman is standing on a pair of stilts, towering over her peers and having the time of her life. Upon closer examination, you'll find that it's actually an installation of Joe Hill's 3D pavement art and that the picture is painted across a warehouse floor. What do you see here? At first glance, it might look like improvement. It might seem that finally the people in developing countries are working in factories and stimulating their economies. But upon closer examination, you'll find that the conditions are subpar and that they're actually just being used as tools by companies that outsource in order to make them money. Companies like Autodesk, Hewlett-Packard, and Intel have all downsized their operations in the US and Western Europe in order to outsource to countries including, but not limited to, Mexico, locations in Eastern Europe, India, China, and the Philippines. Such practices beg the question, to what extent are the various forms and strategies of outsourcing detrimental in the countries that receive them? American enterprises get away with paying their foreign employees a scant portion of what they pay an American employee. This is evident in the fact that as of 2012, in the good old USA, a manufacturer would make a little over $35 an hour, while in Mexico, they'd be paid a little over $6, and in the Philippines, they'd be paid a meager $2.10. This difference in wages not only occurs in factory or labor-intensive jobs, but it occurs across the board in business processing or information technology sectors as well. This is evident in the fact that a programmer in the USA would make anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 a year, while in Poland or Hungary, they'd make $4,800 to $8,000 a year. As shown in this cartoon, large-scale corporations like Nike encourage their laborers to not ask questions and just do it, not asking questions about the morality of these institutions. This imposition forces the beguiled, poverty-stricken workers into the corner without the prospect of improvement or enrichment. And according to Bart Lambrechts of the University of Amsterdam, it aids in the production of a new form of sweatshop. However, outsourcing has its benefits. According to Paul Krugman, an American economist and columnist for the New York Times, outsourcing in a substantial number of industries, low wages allow developing countries to break into world markets. As time goes on, the conditions in these countries that receive outsourcing improve, which is evident in the fact that India has experienced a 14 to 15% increase in wages over the last 20 years. But regardless of how much they get paid, you'd think that a bad job is better than no job, and you'd imagine that a telephone operator in India would prefer being paid under $1 an hour than be paid nothing at all, right? The problem is, these low wages create a rigid work structure with no room for growth. As noted by Shahzad Nadeem, PhD, outsourcing fails to considerably expand the middle class and fails to generate jobs with upward mobility or recognizable career paths. These people aren't even being paid relative to their amount of skill or experience. A study done by the Global Networks Journal found that between employees in Western countries like the US and non-Western countries like the Philippines, there's no correlation between skill and experience on the one hand and financial compensation on the other in countries that receive outsourcing. This prevents those who receive outsourcing from improving in any way, shape, or form, or from climbing any kind of corporate ladder. And the countries that outsource are making minions out of the places that receive outsourcing, and rather than authors of their own destinies, corporations have made countries in the global south their willing and faithful scribes. As noted by Swetha Balanakrishnan, esteemed socio-legal scholar and PhD, outsourcing by American enterprises has contributed to various stratification and socio-cultural consequences. This is evident in the fact that new lifestyle patterns and habits have emerged in the countries that receive outsourcing, such as working in the night, smoking, and drinking. The imposition of American jobs on developing countries is encouraging these people to abandon their ideals and is enforcing the rat race, encouraging the people to work harder, to earn more money, to buy more things, to keep on going. This imposition of ideals is eerily similar to the ideology expressed in Rudyard Kipling's outdated The White Man's Burden. In The White Man's Burden, Rudyard Kipling expresses that, take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace, fill full the mouth of famine, and bid the sickness cease. In outsourcing to developing countries, these enterprises think that they're doing everyone a favor, aiding in globalization and stimulating their economies, when in fact, they're just imposing themselves. And just as imperialism did in the late 19th century, they're contributing to a loss of culture in receiving nations and the imposition of westernization. At the end of the day, whether or not you believe outsourcing is a detriment or a benefit depends on your perception. Some view it as an improvement, and others view it as an imposition of jobs. The only way to combat this injustice would be to outlaw outsourcing itself, which would be difficult to enforce and would be an infringement upon the free market that we Americans know and love. Thank you.
Thank you. I have two questions for you. Tell me how your research question evolved as you went through the research process.
At the beginning, I wanted to focus on only one country, such as India or the Philippines, but then as I went on, I realized that the effects are similar across the board in every country, so everyone, and myself included, would get a better idea of the real effects of outsourcing if I focused on it as a whole.
Okay. And then different question. Explain the level of certainty you have about your conclusion.
Well, I'm fairly certain about it because it does depend on your perception. If you're an American, you're going to think that outsourcing is an improvement because these people are industrializing. But if you have a little more worldly view of it, you'll see that they're actually losing their ideals.
All right, thank you.